everyone, it's Silvia. Welcome back to my channel. Today we're going to have a look at a couple of decks that have entered my collection recently, and one of them is a very famous deck which used to be an indie deck. It used to be one of those decks that were either controversial or really loved. You know, it could be ambivalent. And I don't know if I can show you all the cards, because there's a lot of cards that I probably I'm not supposed to show you, but I'm sure you'll understand when you see it. So let's start with a different one though. This one. This is a tiny deck, so I will have to zoom in all the way if I can here. This is the Black Lily Tarot. And I'm very happy that I finally got it. I got it second hand. I know it's still available, it's an indie deck, but considering, so I could be wrong, years ago it was still available through a print-on-demand service, not Make Playing Cards. I think it was Game Crafter, but I could be wrong. But if you added the printing on demand, the time for printing it, and then the shipping cost, it was actually a bit more than what I wanted to spend for this deck. And I was very lucky because I saw someone selling it on Facebook, and I reached out, and it was a very reasonable price, so I'm very happy that I finally got it. The Black Lily, this tarot as well, so it says Major Arcana Tarot by Aya Rosen, but it's actually a full deck. I don't know why it said Major Arcana, because it's not just Major Arcana. On top of everything, the minors are not pippish, they are illustrated. But in any case, let me just show you. I actually really love the box, if I may say. It's really nice. So it does come with a guidebook, which is really cool. So let me just put it like this for now. So this is the guidebook. Really interesting. So it does say Major Arcana, the 22 cards of the Major Arcana is the heart of the deck. Yeah, absolutely, I get it, but I will never read without the minors, because the minors are reflecting the so below, and I really feel like, especially if a deck comes to you as a full 78 cards deck, I would not remove, like I've seen a lot of people doing that for full-size decks. They remove the minors and they only use the Major Arcanas to give a reading. That to me is okay. If a deck has been conceived as a majors only, I get it. I still would prefer to have a full-size deck, but it's okay because the manifestation in the cards is complete. The intent was to create a majors only deck, but this one has all of the cards. So, and whenever there's a deck like that and someone just removes the minors, it just feels like it's not complete. And you know, in a deck that has been conceived as a full deck, if you remove the minors, you don't have the so below. So for me, it's kind of it is a tricky thing, but I never like to use just the minors if a deck comes with all of the cards. But I do believe, yes, they are the heart of the deck, absolutely. But let's go on, because maybe it explains something later. Each of these cards symbolizes some universal aspect of human experience. They present the archetypes, okay? Major Arcana, Major Arcana, Major Arcana. Let's see if she talks about the minors as well. So obviously there is a little bit, you know, about all of the majors here. And let me just choose the devil, because recently I always want to read about the devil. Let's see what it says about the devil. Experiencing bondage, being obsessed, losing independence, being addicted and enslaved, focusing on the material, being caught up in appearance, overindulging the senses, being unaware, fearing the unknown, being taken in by appearances, feeling hopeless, despairing, thinking negatively. Okay, so we do have all of these keywords and ways in which we can read a card. Obviously, when a deck comes with a little white book like this one, that's what you expect, right? Just to have some keywords. But it does talk about the minor arcanas as well. So the minor arcana is a set of 56 tarot cards. I like the majors that deal with archetypal situations. The minors focus on specific moments, events, people, and turning points in the individual's life. That's why for me it's very essential to read with the minors as well. One thing is when they don't come up in a reading. Okay, and then it talks about the four elements, the suits, etc. And then it gives you more or less the same amount of information when it comes to the minors as well. So fair enough. There's no, yes, there is, well, the Celtic cross, the cross is obviously something that we know very well, don't we? Fair enough. This is from 2015, so that's already 10 years old. This deck is already 10 years old. I mean, not this specific item, but the concept of this deck, or this deck has been first released 10 years ago. And so there's a few cards that I cannot show you. And let's just see what I can do. I'm just gonna remove them from the deck. Apologies for that, but this is the world we live in. Okay, so there's just a couple of major arcanas, mostly major arcanas that I couldn't show you. But now it's been sanitized, which is really heartbreaking. But on the other hand, I'm thinking at least I can show you some of the cards. You know what I mean? So this is a very intense deck. I really like the way in which it has been created. There's a lot of female presence in here. There's not many male bodies. I would say it's 99% female bodies. And as you can see, there's a lot of stains. It's almost as if there were stains. Let me just show you in this case here. So I like this concept because to me it feels like this deck has been through a lot. It's almost as if one of those things that you have, if you think about a book, for example, or a notebook, but something similar to that, you know, when you read something, or if it's a notebook, when you write on a notebook, you're writing something down and you take it with you, you go everywhere, maybe you have a coffee in a cafe and you take it out and you're having a coffee and then it gets, you know, some coffee gets spilled, you know, and they're staying. And after 10 years, let's say something like that, you will have more and more stains on the book / notebook. So it really shows you the way in which there is this sense of living, having lived, having gone through something. And I like to think of this deck as a deck that has been around for a while. You know, it's not the first turn of the wheel that they're going to show me in these cards. And I really like that concept because I like the idea of a wiser deck. So at the same time, it reminds me of the fool that has been, the wise fool that has been through the journey already a number of times. And so when they start again, of course, they start something new. And so they have that property of being the fool, you know, inexperienced and everything. But they're just inexperienced in that particular situation, but they carry with them the wisdom of everything that they have gone through before. So this deck feels to me like that. It's been going through stuff and it shows it's a very direct kind of deck. It's also one of those decks that really doesn't pull the punches. It really stands in front of you and kind of forces you to acknowledge its presence because it wants you to react to the images that are on this card. And it's not necessarily showing beauty. So these characters, they're not Vogue beautiful, if you know what I mean. They're not, between brackets, perfect. But it's a sense of beauty that has lived. So it's an experience kind of beauty, and it's a beauty that carries all of the other wonderful things that you carry with you when you live your life to the fullest. So I'm very curious to work with this deck. I like it very much. I like the colors as well. I even like the borders, to be honest, because I do feel like these cards actually need to have a frame. So I'm very excited about starting to use this deck. If you have any suggestion on oracle decks to pair with this tarot deck, because I haven't found any so far, I was thinking probably something more botanical, just to take away a little bit of the edge of the characters on the cards. So botanical, not animal, botanical, just botanical, to just, you know, give and create that kind of a buffer zone. But it will be very interesting, and let me know if you use it with any other deck. I'll always be interested to know. So moving on to the next one, let me just put this back in the box. So it's also very practical for me that it's almost poker size, I would say. because obviously it makes it so much easier for me to handle and to shuffle. So the next 3 decks, though the next 2 are new to my collection, not new as in new decks, but the third one is. What should I do? Should I start with a new deck? Let's just start with a new deck, because I know that everyone wants to see this. And so let me just explain this. This is the Lubanko Tarot by Emily Lubanko. I also have the indie edition of this deck. I never show it on my channel because of the new algorithms that have been implemented back in March. I believe that they're still learning on how to recognize art from, let's say, non-art, non-artistic nudes. And there's a very random kind of action that takes place whenever there is the checking of your videos when you put them up on YouTube. There's a random kind of checking. I don't think that they target anyone specifically, but I keep on seeing, especially when it comes to, for example, YouTubers that I follow all the time. Like there's a YouTuber that talks about horror movies, and she's in Perth in Western Australia. And she's had a few problems in the last few months. I myself had a video being demonetized because of nudity. But when you try and get in touch with the customer service, I believe that they are being bombarded with questions from all the millions of people that do have a channel. And they don't necessarily take the time to answer. They just look at the guidelines and they answer to you, in a very pragmatic way. There's nudity, therefore it's being demonetized, we don't accept. No, I completely understand that, but there's a difference to be made, and there should be a difference to be made between artistic kind of nudity and nudity that is used as a weapon, or capitalized and weaponized and monetized in a different way. So I obviously would never show something like that. But I believe that algorithms are not being trained yet to distinguish that. So the Lubanko Tarot, at least the indie edition, has at least 3 or 4 cards that I can think of that I cannot show, in my channel, and no one can. If you look at it, in many cases, someone can actually be lucky and, maybe may not be flagged, but many people would have been flagged. So all of this to say that there will be, I have no idea, because I know that some of these cards have actually been changed in the new mass market edition, but I have no idea which ones. And so what I'll do, I'll just open this and we'll go through the book, and then I will just have a quick look to at the cards. And if there are those cards that maybe a bit difficult, then I will have to remove them. As I said, it's very random. You will be able to see people who show these kind of decks with even more nudity all the time. It's just, it has happened to me, and I was kind of, burned. And so you don't want to get burned again. And it was just a matter of probably being a bit unlucky in that case, but it is what it is. So let me just open this. So it's amazing that it got here, because this is a Llewellyn deck. And I think that it's just been released, and I'm so very happy that it's here. It feels like it's a bit more compact than your usual Llewellyn decks. We're used to much bigger ones when it comes to Llewellyn productions. I don't think that it means necessarily anything. When it comes to the book, we'll still have a 244-page color guidebook. So, it's still going to be really, really interesting. So let's just remove the wrapping and let's have a look at what the cards will be. But we'll start, as I said, we'll start with the guidebook, which is a safer option. I love the fact that they've chosen this image for, the front of the wraparound magnetic box. So, okay, without darkness, we have no shadows to define the light. And without light, the darkness may seem unending, and without boundary. Absolutely, Emily, absolutely agree with you 100%. So here's the guidebook. Okay, so it also comes with a card holder. It's actually really nice. I didn't know that this was gonna be there. Llewellyn.com. Wow, this is really nice. They've gone really all out in niceties. I actually really like this one. So for now, let's just have a look at the guidebook, as I was saying. So this is actually the original card. That was the Wheel of Fortune, and it's the one that is actually on the indie decks, on the box of the indie deck. So I like that I kept this one because it's really, you know, the two snakes or dragons, they could also be dragons, very, very symbolic, obviously. So about the author, of course, and let's just have a look at what they give you when it comes to additional information. So introduction, of course, how to use this tarot deck. The majors, the minors, the suit of wands, cups, swords, pentacles, and afterwards. But maybe they will also give us, I like it that there's, you know, the full page. I don't know whether it's for all of the cards. It looks like for all of the cards we will have a full page in color of the card that is referring to. And it's not new for Llewellyn, that's what they basically do. So introduction. So the introduction says, you have before you a lovingly crafted tarot deck. I have been reading tarot for over 20 years. And I worked on this deck for at least 6 of those. Wow, okay. These cards and paintings and book were made from 2014 to 2020. This new edition with its additional cards and more robust book was updated in 2024. Much has changed in these years, and so, like with any piece of art, you are holding a time capsule of a person who makes art in such times and has learned a lot from said times. There's something I have to say. I do follow Emily's account on Instagram. I really like everything that is coming with just the it's not just the photos of the cards, but the description. There's a lot there. You can feel that Emily's got a very strong soul, very meaningful relationship with tarot. I did not know that, you know, 20 years of reading tarot is a long time. So there is obviously this profound knowledge. And having worked on this particular deck for 6 years is actually really interesting, because does that mean that there were a lot of changes, for example? It would be very interesting to know that. I do know that there's, as I said earlier, there are changes in the cards. Okay, so intro, how to use it. On tarot, the shadows and the questions we ask ourselves. Loving that we're asking ourselves questions. So these questions are, what is newness? What is authority, fear, justice, death, grief, peace, knowing? Okay, on this deck, and shadow, work, and light. So how does this deck fit into all of this, and how can it help you? For those of you who have never used tarot before, there are many different tarot decks out there, thousands and thousands, all made with different voices, absolutely. Think of how different musicians might interpret the same sheet of music, the notes of the same song. Hey, way to go. I'm sorry, I just interrupted reading. I don't want to read all of it, but way to go on the writings. This is such an amazing... this is very interesting. I like the writing style as well. You guys know that I love books as well. So I don't always expect a tarot creator, so an artist, to be also good at writing, but wow, way to go. Way to go, Emily. Really loving this. Reading with the cards, where to start. And it says, okay, if this is your first time using this tarot deck, the first thing I recommend is to set aside some time to sit with images. Absolutely, that is what I do with all of the decks. Before flipping to the definition in this book, ask yourself, how does this card make me feel upon first glance? Yeah. Okay, there is a spread. Where was I? What is a thing that I should meditate on as it pertains to my past? What is something I may have missed or needs more focus? Where I am? Though it is hard to see outside the present moment, what is something that should be further examined in the now? What has me stuck? And number 3, where I may go. What should I keep in mind as I move forward in time? What is a thing that I should pay attention to and take note of as a potential strength or stumbling block? I love this. I love these 3 cards, this spread. Really, really interesting. Working outward on finding and recording personal meaning, yeah, on journaling. There's also a lot of prompts here, which is very interesting. I like it because it is clear that this is the way Emily works with the deck itself, or with tarot, let's say. So it is really interesting. On reading for others, conversation bridges and what is said and unsaid. Fantastic intro to this deck, may I say. I had no idea that this was going to be there. I do understand now why Emily is referring to the guidebook being more robust. Robust, I always think of two terms. Robust may mean that there's more information on the cards, but robust may also mean that there's a lot more assistance on how to get acquainted with the deck, which I always really like. And then the tarot journey, and I believe that we start with the cards here. So it talks about the major arcanas, and then it shows you, as I said, the card. Let me just jump at the end, to write to the author, okay, if you just want to get in touch. Afterward, okay, so there's just an afterward. I have been reading tarot for a long time. To put it in terms like decades feels surreal, but here we are. Like many folks, I started with a copy of the Rider-Waite-Smith, and many borrow books from the library, as many as my arms could carry, journaling and noting. I was moved to learn to read tarot by having quite a lot of feelings about life, the world, art and everything, and trying to sort through it one piece at a time, asking myself, how does this art make me feel? What biases do I have looking at this image? What is the story I experience when I look at this? What does the author intend, and how does that differ from my own story? These are basically the questions that I ask myself, so I'm happy to see that. So I will say, without looking at the cards, I'm already really happy that I actually bought the mass market version, even though I still have the indie one. But you know what they say, we need to get to the cards. We're only here for the cards, aren't we? So let's just have a look. So very sturdy, but I would never complain about Llewellyn boxes. They are the sturdiest ones out there. Just as sturdy, or even more sometimes, than US Games, when US Games produces a deck like this with a box like that. Definitely a lot more than other publishers. So I wish, or also indie publishers, I wish they took a page from Llewellyn's book, because it is just amazing. So let's go, and as I said, let me just remove the belly band here. As I said, I'm just going to quickly have a look at all of the cards, and I may have to remove a couple of cards. Apologies for that. This video is going to be like this. It's just that really I heard from so many people around, as I said, this YouTuber, also Australian, another one in the US. There's a lot of attention to these kind of things these days, and but I have this feeling that it's just temporary. And that one day machine learning would do its job, and algorithms will know how to distinguish art from non-art. So, but in any case, let's see. Okay, so there's literally just 3 cards that I have to remove. But one thing that I have to say, it's not your typical Llewellyn cardstock. That's something that really surprised me. It's very papery. The tactile feel to it is very papery, very cardboardy. At the same time though, it is quite bouncy, so as you can see, and it feels sturdy. So if you know what, okay, let me just say something, because I know that I've talked about that deck for a number of times. You know the Voodoo Spirit box, the Voodoo Tarot, the Spirit box by Fabilistrani? That tarot deck has got, I don't know what happened, but it feels like it's paper. The cardstock on that deck, it feels like it's very papery, and it's not a papery that I feel confident in using for readings all the time. So it is a deck that I love because it's absolutely gorgeous, but it's not a deck that I reach out to when I do readings, because I'm actually kind of concerned about the cardstock. This one feels almost as if we were starting from that deck and making a very strong improvement on the durability. I don't know if that makes sense, but that's the feeling that I've got. So I'm also surprised that they put, so this one is obviously about, this is Emily, hi. So a bit of a bio here, and really nice, really beautiful card, very inspired by the deck, by the way. But I'm surprised, I've never seen Llewellyn, maybe because I haven't bought a Llewellyn deck in a while, but I have never seen a Llewellyn deck put in a promotional card like that. That is all the time. You can find it on Rockpool, for example, sometimes even a Scarabeo, but I've never seen Llewellyn doing that. And there's even a 20% on your next order if you buy from Llewellyn.com, which I cannot because they don't ship overseas, but that's fine. Okay, I was just surprised. I just wanted to point it out, and I was surprised. And the Darkwood Tarot. Can I just say something, because I'm incredibly proud. You see this? So this one, the Darkwood Tarot. The text is by Sasha Graham. Sasha, I will meet her in person because she's also been invited to the College of Psychic Studies in London, where I have been invited as well to present Andrea Aste's magazine, which is called The Discombobulator. It's a magazine that deals with magic and the occult. And so that will be an official presentation to the tarot world at the College of Psychic Studies in London on November 21st. So I will be in November, and I will be in London in November to present the magazine, and there will be also Sasha, because she's also a permanent contributor to the magazine, and also Laetitia Barbier, and also the founder of the Tokyo Tarot Museum, and a lot of other people. So it's going to be absolutely amazing, and I cannot wait, and I'm so excited, and I'm so proud of myself. Can I be proud of myself for 5 seconds? Please let me. So I will meet Sasha in person, and I cannot wait. So I'm actually going to bring the Darkwood Tarot for her to sign, probably just a book for her to sign. Would that be really, like, will I look really needy and lame? Probably, but I don't care. So let's have a look. This is a really beautiful deck. It's, I don't know, it feels to me like I completely understand the work that has been done behind all of these images. Now that I know it, this is new, for example, the Lovers, there's another couple of Lovers cards. There's the original Lovers card which I had to remove, and another one which showed female nudity, and you know, that's always a bit controversial, so just to be safe, I had to remove it as well. I repeat this, I really feel like this is going to be temporary, and then maybe in 6 months time we'll have a much better system of algorithms in YouTube. So, you know, keeping my fingers crossed for that anyway. The Chariot card, which is obviously, we were saying earlier, it's at the front of the guidebook, but it was also on the original box of the indie edition. I did say Wheel of Fortune, but it's actually the Chariot card. Apologies for that, I made a mistake. Then the Strength. This is one of my favorite Hermit cards of all time. It is so beautiful. I really, really love this. I love this card so much. And the Wheel of Fortune, the Justice, also really beautiful. The Hen one. So you will see, this is a deck that is probably not for the faint of heart. It's one of those decks that is actually very intense and powerful, very beautiful stuff. But my favorite is the Moon. The Moon card in this deck is just so beautiful. I really, really love this. It's got all the feels to me as well, and it is very atmospheric, I would say. So really gorgeous card. And the Sun, Judgment, you know, going through this funnel. It's almost as if there were a portal, you know, not just the light coming down, but also the light selecting who can go up and who can go down. I like this concept. And the World card, really beautiful. And then we're going to the minors. So my favorite suit is the Suit of Pentacles. I believe that this deck has the most beautiful Suit of Pentacles of all of the decks that I've got. There's also something to be said about the fact that, generally speaking, the Suit of Pentacles is not my favorite, the Suit of Swords is. But I do pay attention on how the creator reflects what they want to say, their message, and they manifest their intention through the images and the cards. And I think that Emily has done a fantastic job when it comes to the Suit of Pentacles. Also the other suits. I mean, this is a really beautiful Ace of Cups, admittedly, and a very gorgeous Two of Cups. Really, really gorgeous. So I'm not going to show you all of the cards because, well, otherwise we'll have to stay here forever. Really gorgeous Seven of Cups, which is actually on the box. As you can see here, it's the same image. Really, really gorgeous. And so, as I said, I'm not going to show you all of the cards, otherwise we're going to stay here forever. However, I do feel like this is, oh, look at this Ace of Pentacles. I will show you all of the Pentacles because they're so beautiful. Look at this. It's so gorgeous. There's a reminder of the wings here, but they are smaller wings, and it's almost as if it were telling me that there is the intention of flying or lifting from the ground, but you're still bound by the ground, because there's the feet are in water here, for example, and you can see some, almost as if these were some branches reaching out and just wrapping around the ankle of this person and keeping them down, bound to the earth. So really, really love this. And the Ouroboros with the lemniscate, of course, really, really gorgeous as well, with the Two of Pentacles, but also the Mountain. So you see a lot of symbology in this deck is not to be taken for granted. That's what I wanted to say, because this is actually one of those decks that could be an excellent tarot deck. So now with my members, we're starting to study the Orion's Animal Tarot by Ambisson, but because not everyone has it, and it's also because it's so heavily based on animal symbology, I'm actually gonna do a whole study on animal symbols and energy. So if you want to join my membership, it's gonna be really fun. Then the Three of Pentacles, of course, with the collaboration and the teamwork and everyone knowing what their role is in this team. And the Four of Pentacles with, you know, taking everything and just keeping it to your close to your chest and never letting it go, but also at the same time, you know, creating this kind of barrier for what you have to actually grow. The Five of Pentacles, really beautiful, very, very sad. Also, these two characters feel like they have a lot of burden on their shoulders. They're almost crunching down and, you know, needing the help of a staff here to just keep on walking. The Six of Pentacles, I love the Six of Pentacles because it's what I always say about a Six of Pentacles. I want to see two hands or more than two hands, as in someone giving but also someone receiving, and also it may look like there is this ambivalence, there's this bi-directionality, because giving sometimes also make you receive back. If maybe not the same item, you may give money but you may receive blessings, you know what I mean? So I really love to see the fact that there's no particular direction here. It's you know, it's both ways, let's say. Then the Seven of Pentacles, really beautiful, you know, just stretching to gather the fruits that are on the branches of the tree, but at the same time realizing that this is the right time to take stock of what you've got and what you still need, because if you take one step further down that path, you may not be able to come back. And the Eight of Pentacles, you know, looking at the Venus and Milo, and just knowing that there's so much work to do, and you need to double down on what you're doing. But also, you know, admiring the fact that this person is taking a knee, and admiring the beauty of something that is incomplete and imperfect, but that is the epitome of beauty. So that's a really beautiful card, and this is really my favorite coins or pentacle suits of all the decks that I've got. And the Nine of Pentacles, of course, you know, when you harvest and it's an abundant harvest, that's a wish come true, but at the same time it's a windfall. It's something that it really also gives you the possibility to share with the community, because that is the Nine of Pentacles for me. It's about understanding that what you've received needs to be shared in order for you to feel actually fulfilled and complete. And the Ten of Pentacles is probably my favorite Ten of Pentacles of all time. I feel that sometimes there's not a lot of effort to draw the Ten of Cups and the Ten of Pentacles, because okay, let's put the family with the rainbow for the the Ten of Cups, and you know, a community for the Ten of Pentacles. But look how beautiful this card is. I mean, it's absolutely gorgeous. And then the Page of Pentacles, you know, there's this sense of having everything, the whole world at your fingertips, and enjoying it and having a party. So there is this sense of nurture, but also happiness. And the Knight of Pentacles with the movement. The Queen of Pentacles is just absolutely stunning. I really love this, with the pomegranates and the rabbits here. And then the King of Pentacles, which is as I want to see a king. So the Queen of Pentacles can be, the queens in general can be as luxurious, as gorgeous and stunning as you want, but the kings need to be almost looking inward in a way, because it's their role, so they have a job. So the queen can bask in riches and in empathy and mysticism. The king has a job. You know what, it's the embodiment of the emperor, and so it needs to show some, I don't know, a serious face or something like that. I'm not a tarot, I don't create tarot decks, unfortunately, so I wouldn't know how to express that, but I like what Emily has done. And then, you know, yes, the Three of Swords is the usual image for the Three of Swords, that's okay. Six of Swords is really beautiful. Seven of Swords. The Eight of Swords is very, very powerful. This card is so intense, so powerful. At the same time, the Nine of Swords. This one, I don't know, it's just... it's almost creepy for me, because it does remind me of a movie that I watched many years ago, and it's very similar. So it wasn't The Ring, but it reminds me also of The Ring, you know, the Japanese folklore related based movie from a few years ago. And the Ten of Swords, let me just quickly look at the Queen of Swords. And you know, it's this is very interesting, because I feel a sense of heaviness overcoming the Queen of Swords. At the same time, I do feel like she's surging through this sense of heaviness. So I like it. It's not my favorite Queen of Swords, but that's okay. And then we're looking into the Suit of Wands, which is very, very beautiful as well. The competitive energy of the Five of Wands is absolutely perfect here. So it's a really, I would say it's not an easy deck, but I could probably see a beginner starting to read with this deck. I don't think that it would be a problem, because there's a lot of symbology that is referring to the traditional symbology of the RWS. Some things obviously are different, so you may have to go back to the guidebook. But I would say this is a deck that I would definitely see a beginner, maybe not your first deck ever, unless you're a collector, then you can do whatever you want. And also if you're a reader, you can do whatever you want. But what I mean is, if you're expecting to learn tarot from this deck, perhaps learn it first from the traditional RWS, but then you can definitely move on into something like this. So really, really beautiful. Absolutely loving this deck. I would say this is, by the way, edged in black, and it's already kind of showing a bit of wear, and I just opened it, but that's this kind of edging. I did not expect anything otherwise. It is absolutely not a deal breaker. I really couldn't care less. The other one, if I remember correctly, is edged in a silver, dull silver, gilded rather than edged. So in any case, let me know what you think about this deck in the comments below. I like it. It's beautiful. I would say that a couple of cards have been replaced, and I like the replacement. Especially, I love Emily gave three different cards for the Lovers card, so obviously you can pick the one that resonates the most for you. I really like that possibility. There's a couple of decks that do that, but I think everything is just ticking all the boxes of a deck that I really like. So I'm very excited to see if I can work with this deck. I don't generally use the indie deck. This one gives me different kind of feelings. I don't know, I'll pick it back up, the indie deck. But let's move on to the other decks that I've got. Okay, so I know that it's not October yet. And I always told myself that I was going to buy spooky decks only in October. But I couldn't resist, because there was a massive sale, and I just got a couple of decks for only $15 Australian each. So $15 Australian is about $9.5 US dollars. So I just couldn't say no to them. This one has been on my wish list for a while, but it was always one of those decks that I was really scared of acquiring, because it is an Insight Edition deck, and you guys know that sometimes it's a bit of a hit and miss when it comes to Insight Edition decks. I have watched a couple of walkthroughs of this deck, and I will have to say that we do see illustrations in the minors, not 100%, not all of them, but for $9.5 US, I'm actually okay with it. I'm okay with this deck, and I just love so much horror movies. So these are the protagonists. So this is called the Universal Monsters Tarot deck and guidebook. And these are obviously all of the spooky movies, horror movies that have very iconic kind of protagonist in the story. And obviously we see the Creature from the Black Lagoon, the Mummy, the Bride of Frankenstein, Dracula. So there is there are constant references in all of the cards to these movies that are basically, you know, they really represent a lot for me. I am so enamored with the horror genre. It's something that I always loved ever since I was probably 14, 15. But it is something to be said about the tradition of cinema in Italy. We had some incredibly great directors when it comes to the horror genre. So, for example, Dario Argento is worldwide famous, but also Mario Bava, although that is more like older movies than the ones that I used to watch. And so, you know, there's something to be said about a passion that has been with me for decades. And I will always have a spot in my heart for these kind of decks because I love them. Having said that, let's have a look, because I have just watched walkthroughs, but I haven't had the deck in my hands yet. So this is the guidebook. So I'm not expecting anything different other than the other guidebooks that you've got, you receive when you buy an Insight Edition deck. And I don't mean to sound negative, it's just that we all know what I mean. They've done so many, they made so many mistakes, and I don't know whether they were mistakes or actually on purpose, on so many decks that, for example, the Ghostbuster Tarot. So the Ghostbuster movie is incredibly important to me from an emotional point of view, because it was the last movie that I ever got to watch together with my mom, and so obviously, you know, it means a lot to me. And I had such high hopes for that deck, and then I got it, and it was such a letdown that I felt like I was personally disappointed. And I feel like there's a lot of us that have this kind of relationship with this publisher. The other day I was talking with a friend of mine. She told me that she grew up watching Hocus Pocus with her brother, and that movie means a lot to her. And then she got the Hocus Pocus deck, and it's very disappointing. So, you know, there's something that they need to understand. It's not just about tarot. When you make a tarot about these movies that are so iconic for a lot of us, even the Stranger Things TV show, for example, you have to be careful, because if you're being lazy, you have a lot to respond, a lot to answer to these people, to us, that we love these movies so much. And also, we are also tarot readers and collectors. So you're making two categories of people unhappy. Not just the tarot collectors and readers, but also the ones that really love those movies. So, you know, to me, that would mean that you probably need to do a little bit more research and, you know, make the effort of illustrating also the minors. Rent close. I'm not going to say anything anymore, and I promise that we're just going to have to look at the cards now. So let me just quickly read the Magician, for example. The electrical secrets of heaven may allow you to bestow life, but the Magician reminds you that all power must be wielded wisely. And then it tells you who this is, which I'm happy about. Let's just have a look at the minors. Okay, we don't have a full page for the minors, but we do have a little bit of information here. For example, we've got here the Page of Candles. In the light, enthusiastic, clever, and intrigued by Griffin's experiments, Flora kindly embodies the inventiveness and creative outpouring that the Page of Candles represents. Okay, so we are reminded, although this is a court card, so let me just go to a minor that is not a court card. Okay, the Two of Crypts, for example. Don't worry, this new infatuation won't leave you mourning. In fact, you're likely just starting an invigorating and thrilling partnership. Whether it's a romantic or creative union, it's bound to be successful. So it looks like it's not referring to a specific movie, but it does give you, in this case, it does give you the upright and the reverse meaning of the card. Without much further ado, let me just look at the cards, because otherwise I feel like I'm gonna influence myself and be the more disappointed that I will be if I had just looked at the card directly. I don't know if it makes sense. It does for me. So let's just, of course, start from the Fool here. So we got Frankenstein. Generally speaking, I never have a problem with the major arcanas in an Insight Edition deck. They're actually really cool. It's when it comes to the minors that we have issues. Loving this, the new life with Frankenstein, the creation, you know, it's really, really good. Dr. Frankenstein, of course, is a magician. And the High Priest. I won't probably, this is the Bride of Frankenstein. I won't probably be able to, and Dracula, I won't probably be able to recognize all of these, but I'm happy that I will be able to see that in the guidebook. These are very sturdy. That is one thing that you can count on. Insight Edition decks, when it comes to the production and the value of the cardstock, they're actually quite sturdy. Okay, obviously Werewolf for the Chariot. I like that because there's this sense of movement, transformation. I like it. I think it's okay. The Strength card, we'll have to find that out. The Hermit, wow, very intriguing. Beautiful, intriguing. And the Wheel of Fortune, that's the Invisible Man. I like that. The Justice card. The Creature for the Black Lagoon for the Hanged One, and the Death card, Temperance. For the ones that I don't know, which is ironically, I feel like I don't know my horror movies now because I don't immediately recognize them. It might also be because maybe they don't have the copyrights to just reproduce the images 100% like in the movie, and so I don't immediately recognize it. But this is the Star card. Let me just quickly look at the Star card because I think it might be Mina, but I'm not entirely sure. So the Star card, the Death card, the Devil. Mina. I knew it was Mina. It looks like her. Bright enough to penetrate the darkness of an immortal monster's heart, there's no suppressing the magical light of the star. Mina Seward always has a kind word and a warm smile for all who cross her path, even the mysterious Count from Transylvania. More than a smile, actually, she has on the Count of Transylvania. Really, really beautiful. I like that. And of course, the Werewolf again with the moon, because of course it will be the Werewolf with the moon, and the Sun, Judgment, and the World card. Okay, I'm gonna have a good time looking at these references and trying to understand who these are. So let me just quickly look at the key and the Knight of Candles, because I have an idea, but I don't want to say it, just in case, candles, just in case I'm completely wrong. And I feel like candles should be wands because of fire. Could be wrong, because sometimes also these decks, it's not necessarily easy to understand what the suit has been renamed into. Okay, Wemple. Okay, yes, it's the mummies. Okay, fair enough. Yeah, of course. I should have known that because of the Egyptian decoration here. Okay, I thought it was a different one. Page of Candles, we've seen that earlier. Ace of Candles. So, as you can see, I mean, can we say that this is fully scenic? Yes, we can. We can. It's fully scenic, of course. But then, you know, you go into the 2 candles could have been like this, absolutely fine. Then they go into the 3 of candles, and there's basically 3 lanterns. Although you could still make the argument by saying they're in movement, so there is this sense of expecting something that comes your way or wanting to go out yourself. I don't know. I mean, sometimes I have to do mental gymnastics in order to justify the way in which I read the cards from an Insight Edition deck. So I will be excused. Okay, the 4 of Candles, the 4 of Wands. This is the Tomb, the Graveyard, the 5 of Candles. I feel like there will be connections to be found here. I mean, it is one of those decks that still wants to keep it, let's say, still fully scenic but peepish at the same time. I don't know if that makes sense. Because, okay, in this case, 7 of Candles, for example. Yeah, we've got 7 candles here, but you can read something about it. They are inside a bowl, for example. Some of them are almost extinguished, so there is something to be read that way. The Eight of Candles is 100%, I would say, illustrated. It's not necessarily an Eight of Wands, because the Eight of Wands for me will be illustrated in a different way. And this looks to me more like the mob that unifies against one person. So it's more like the Seven of Candles or Wands. And then the 9 and the 10. I don't know what to think. I don't know. Let me know in the comments below. Obviously, I kind of knew what to expect sort of when I was looking at the walkthroughs. And I heard a lot of people also doing this exercise in trying to find the symbols to speak about the card. Like this, the Two of Cups, for example, this to me, it's a Two of Cups. And it's a beautiful way to display and to create this sense of the bond between two people. So absolutely love this card. But then, you look at the Three of Cups and you think, okay, well, maybe because these two were married and this is a child, you know what I mean? Sometimes I'm probably trying too hard. So we try and understand that Cups, because I was reading the Two of Cups as the Two of Cups. I'm intending the Suit of Cups to be the Suit of Cups. So the Four of Cups, there's something here. You close yourself to the world. I don't know. And the Five of Cups with everything is lost. I don't know. The Six of Cups. So I did promise that I wouldn't have done this. I did promise that. Love the Ten of Cups, by the way. Really beautiful. You see what I mean? Sometimes they're actually really beautiful cards. So I am willing to give it the benefit of the doubt and try and understand, although if Claws is referring to swords, which I think it is, and Castles is referring to pentacles, the Two of Claws, I'm not entirely sure that I know what we're looking at here. So let's just read the Three of Claws, because from my understanding is the Three of Swords. So let's just have a look at what it says on the guidebook. Candles, obviously, Crypts, no, Claws, yeah, Claws, Three of Claws. You've been nearly staked through the heart and you need to return to your native soil to restore and rejuvenate yourself. Giving yourself time for wounds to close is essential before you move ahead. If you don't do so, you can't fully heal. Process your sadness, accept the loss, and trust that you will once again rise to the occasion. Doesn't that read like a Four of Swords to me? Like, okay, you've gone through a loss and it's been devastating. And now you need a break, you need a time for yourself, you need to recuperate your energy and everything. That's the way in which I would read the Four of Swords, so not necessarily the Three of Swords, but this kind of tells me that it is indeed the Suit of Swords. But let's just quickly read the Four of Claws. So the Four of Claws finds you nearly overloaded, blowing fuses and channeling stress. This card is a reminder to take a break. But it does read very similarly. But in any case, okay, Three of Claws, not necessarily the way I would want the Three of Swords, but at least it's not a pierced heart. So, there is an advancement there. Four of Claws, yeah, I totally see that. And the Five of Claws, pointing the finger at me. Six of Claws, I like this. It's a kind of a supportive, take your hand and take you somewhere else. The Seven of Claws, preparing a potion, maybe that's unfair. The Eight of Claws, being trapped, absolutely, in a net like this, yeah. And the Nine of Claws, the sense of anxiety, taking away the mask. Ten of Claws, okay, sorry, I'm still doing this when I said I wouldn't. I'm liking the Queen of Claws. And then Castle, obviously we're looking at different castles here, and armadillos. Why is an armadillo on the Three of Pentacles? So I feel like I'm missing something. Let me just quickly double check, because I did not remember seeing the Three of Pentacles like that. Three of Castles. As powerful as he is, Dracula can't keep watch over his castle by himself. Collaboration is essential in any thriving partnership. Be it the armadillos guarding your resting place or the people working on your team. Be open to learning from those around you and appreciate their unique gifts. Are there armadillos in Dracula's castle? Can you just give me 5 seconds and I need to check, because I can't believe that I didn't know that. I just checked. There are armadillos in Dracula. I can't believe that I forgot that. So it was the entry on Google was saying that it was unusual because armadillos are not native of Europe, and but the director chose to put armadillos in the castle because they wanted to really go down on the creepiness of the atmosphere and the fog and everything. And sorry, I just it blew my mind. You know what, the Three of Pentacles, and I get it now, it actually works for the Three of Pentacles. I can't believe it. Anyway, there are armadillos in Dracula. Ladies and gentlemen, did you know that? Do you remember that? Because I haven't watched the movie in a while, and I have to say, in the original you can see the armadillos, but I don't think there were armadillos in Nosferatu. In any case, wow, that blew my mind. Okay, there's armadillos in Dracula. And these are all castles. Castles in ruin, castles with the windows, the light switched on, the 7 and 8, and with the flags, and a palace. Okay, again, this is a little bit of hit and miss again, guys. I think that the only one that actually stands the test of time for the entire tarot community is the Beetlejuice Tarot, because actually that one, not only is it fully illustrated, but actually it makes sense. But when it comes to everything else, it just feels like it's a little bit of a letdown. I still like it, I will keep it, and it's a deck that I would definitely use, because that armadillo thing really blew my mind, and I'm like, you know what, kudos. And how can you, so this is my issue, right? So how can you be as clever as to use the armadillos, 3 armadillos, to refer to the Three of Pentacles and referring to the collaboration and the team of the Three of Pentacles, because you need the help of all of the members of your team. And so how can you be so spot on and inventive and actually kind of cool on one card, and then the suit of castles, it's all about castles. One castle with the lights on, one castle with, you know what I mean? I mean, obviously I reserve judgment, because obviously I will have to go back to the guidebook, but at a certain point I really want to know why one card is really clever and another card is just lazy. I really don't understand how they would do that. Either it's a collaboration effort, maybe there's different people, maybe only 1 or 2 of them know how to read tarot and the others don't. I don't know. In any case, what I wanted to do, and I really want to do it now, I wanted to pair it with the Classic Horror Oracle. So bear with me, because we're just gonna do a really quick pairing. You know me, I love pairings. So as I said, I just want to pair very quickly with the Classic Horror Oracle by Riccardo Disegno. I love this oracle deck. I think it's really, really cool, and I've used it many times, especially obviously during Spooktober. I think it's actually really clever, the way in which it's associating the images and the references to the specific horror characters and the keywords. So it would be really cool if I had a combination of, you know, Dracula from the oracle and Dracula in the tarot as well, but let's see. So the colors are already quite similar, so I'm really liking these two together. And I would say the art style is different. It's not the same, obviously, but it is kind of similar as well, and it makes me think that there is this sense of flowing between the cards. Like it's not, it doesn't feel like either the oracle or the tarot create a barrier in order for the cards not to read together. It actually does. And the one thing that I kind of wish they'd done in the oracle deck is to write down maybe here. I mean, I know that this is Jaws, obviously, well, duh, but it would have been great to have, for other ones that are not as easily to recognize, to have the name of the movie, or, you know, the story of the book, because it would definitely, you know, give me the possibility to jump to the reading in a quicker way. Although I know most of them, and having used this deck, you know, you tend to remember, obviously you tend to remember what you're looking at a certain point, but Really cool, by the way. I love these two together. It's kind of an obvious pairing, but even so, I think that it's giving me a lot of really cool vibes. I'm not able to read these yet, simply because I have not familiarized myself too much with the Universal Monsters Tarot, and the reason is that whenever it comes to an Insight Edition deck, it's difficult for me to always memorize the renaming of the suits. Sometimes they're not, sometimes they make sense, sometimes they don't. So Crypts for Cups and Castles for Pentacles is not necessarily something that I would have immediately understood had I not gone and checked it out in the book. So it is, you know, I know it from the moment that I'm looking at it, but say if I work with this deck a couple of weeks from now, I will not remember, so I will still have to go back to the guidebook. Loving these two together. I think that what we are missing in the peepish sort of minors in the tarot deck, we're getting out of the Oracle deck, and it's actually really, really cool. So I cannot wait to use these two together in the Spooktober season, which is my favorite month of the year, because obviously then I can finally give in to my passion of being weirdly fascinated by everything horror. And so no one will, you know, no one will think that I'm crazy, because everyone will be doing exactly the same at that time of the year. So let me just put this back, and then I've got another deck that I wanted to show you. So this one is still, because it was such an amazing price, $15 Australian. Really, really happy that I could get this, and I know already that there's a lot of cards that are a bit of a miss because of what we've said earlier, but for that price, to be honest with you, and the majors are actually really beautiful in this deck. But I have to say, majors have never been a problem with Insight Edition decks. It's always well thought of, really good drawings, really nice images, and etc. So Tim Burton's The Nightmare Before Christmas, this is by no means a new deck. I think it was, I could be wrong, but it was probably one of the very first, you know, Insight Editions decks. And now it feels like every couple of months there's an Insight Edition deck. I haven't checked out Agatha All Along, because I actually really love the TV show. If I found it, maybe I always say I give it a 4.5 and not a 5, because at times it is a little bit repetitive. Look at the Wheel of Fortune, isn't it just absolutely gorgeous? I love this. So funny. So let's have a look at the cards. As I said, I know what to expect already. I really don't. I will not be the grumpy person that says this is not what we expect, it's not fair, it should be done better, because I've already said all that. So let's move on. So this is different cardstock, by the way. The other one was a lot sturdier. This is much thinner. I think I prefer this one. It's easier to shuffle for me. But there you go. So the majors are always stunning, absolutely stunning. And to be honest, because it feels like they have the rights to the copyright, so these are very easily recognizable. This is exactly how you would see Jack and I forgot her name, the love interest, Jack's love interest in the actual movie. So they look exactly like you would see them. Whereas, for example, there's other fandom decks that don't have the copyrights, and in that case, they have to just make the figure look slightly different. I'm thinking, for example, about the Supernatural Tarot, and there's also Supernatural Oracle, which I'm looking into. And I know Supernatural, the TV show, so well that I am able to tell the characters, even though they don't look exactly like the actors. But this one, absolutely no problem with that. The tower and the star, I love this. I love that it's this card like this, the star and the moon, really beautiful. As you can see, really, really gorgeous cards when it comes to the majors. Actually, even spot on, you know, going through the list of deeds and everything, and the world card. And then, as always, they put the core cards first. And the core cards have never been a problem either. I mean, Look at this page of candles. It's really cute and creepy at the same time. And then the aces are not a problem. So really, just we're looking at 9 cards out of every suit that are a bit like that. So there's the 2 of candles and the 3. So as you can see, the concept of fully illustrated and PPH. So this is fully illustrated and it's scenic, obviously, as you can see. And you can also kind of remind yourself of the meaning of the 4 of Wands in this case. Perhaps there is this celebration. And the 5. And then you got the 6, in which, you know, it's neither here nor there. It's not expressing the concept of victory to me. And the 7. Maybe the 7, because this one is higher than the other candles. And the 8, I don't really see this movement, this speed. And the 9, maybe because, I don't know. And see, when I start saying these kind of things, is because I'm literally just trying to spin the narrative and fit it into what I know about tarot. And it's not one of those really good things when, you know, a tarot deck is challenging your knowledge because it's telling you that there is a possible different interpretation of the card. That I love. It's just that it just doesn't make sense. 2 of Presents is probably Cups, so I'm liking this one, and the 3 of Presents. So it makes sense as 3 of Presents. Yeah, of course, there's 3 of Presents, the growth in the presents. And the 4, the abundance that we cannot reach. The 5, maybe. I still really like them though. And the 6 of Presents. And then you go to the 7 of Presents and you're like, maybe it's all of the suits. It feels like there's certain cards that across all of the decks are kind of nonsensical, and it feels like the 7s are a bit of an issue for all of these decks. It's almost as if, you know, people making these, the 7, the 9th and the 10s are just, you know, you stay there and you think and you're like, it doesn't really make sense, or they're missing the point, or you know, they seem to have a really cool grasp of the major arcanas and the core cards and the aces, but then, okay, well, this one is easy, obviously, but then the 4 of Needles, for example, this is not necessarily talking about rest to me, although one is, you know, diagonal like that, maybe it's laying down, I don't know. The 5 could be, yeah, absolutely. The 6, maybe there is something about that, sewing yourself back up, you know, going into that transformative journey that is still very difficult. And then you got the 7 of Needles, and which is swords, obviously. So I don't know. This is my theory. Let me know if you can confirm this theory. If you think that I'm you know, I'm getting something right here. And then the 9 and the 10 of Needles. But again, just to go ahead, loving this page of potions, by the way. So to me, potions should probably be more cups, but it could possibly be pentacles, because pentacles, they tend to put them at the end, like the last suit. And I can't tell, maybe, let me just quickly go to the 5 of Potions in the guidebook, just to be sure 100%. So the 5 of Potions here. Disappointments and setbacks have you feeling depressed. Something hasn't gone according to plan. Rather than feeling glum and remorseful about what can be changed, accept the circumstances and look for a way forward. There are new opportunities waiting for you. So it feels almost as if you were the 5 of Cups, to be honest. It is the Potions is Cups, because I'm looking at the 6 and it says, think of a time in your past when you were truly incandescently happy. So apologies for that. So the other one that I thought were Cups is actually Presents. So Presents are actually Pentacles, which kind of makes more sense. Okay, fair enough. You see, sometimes I'm actually wrong, so it's completely okay. Still, I think that they could have done a better job for some of these cards. Namely the 7s. They don't seem to nail the 7, the 9s and the 10s. So really, really cool and happy about all of these new beauties in my collection. Let me know if you have any new deck in your collection. I'm always curious to know what is, you know, coming in new into your either tarot or oracle collections. But for now, have a great day. Bye.